Welcome to Geeky Poetic Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Geeking Poetic Podcast for another episode of Geek Previews. We went and saw a movie.
We sure did.
Yeah,
It was a movie for sure.
it was a movie. I'm, of course, Larry Roberts. Over on the far end, we have
Vito Marchese.
the man with gum on his pants. Because, seriously, who puts gum on the drink holder at a movie theater like that, at a nice movie theater? Bunch of douchebags. Bunch of savages in this town.
Yeah, man. Fucking Skokie.
And then this big ball of attitude over here in the middle that's just been tormenting me all night.
It's been great.
Man, oh man. I even tried to make it so that I wouldn't have to sit next to her during the movie, and nope.
Still got stuck to me.
Oh my gosh. Anyway,
Vito bolted to the other side.
He's
Second
smart.
guess here, hi.
Yeah, well,
Larry asked me 3 times, you sure you don't want to sit in the middle? You sure you don't want to sit in the middle? No, man, I'm fine right here.
Yeah. Well, you know what? You threw me in there in the middle. I had to deal with this one all night, and you know what you got?
Gum.
Yeah, all right.
Gum on the pants. See? That's what you get. Anyway, the movie that we just got back from seeing is a brand new movie that just premiered yesterday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that movie was
Spider-Man.
Far From Home,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Vito's never totally sure. He's like, that is what we saw, right? Yes, Vito.
I saw Spider-Man. I got
Yeah.
that
We just
part.
been saw a movie, I don't know.
Yeah. This guy. Yeah, it was the second installment of the new Sony Pictures Spider-Man movies with Tom Holland and everything. And Spider-Man, who, if you don't know from the Spider-Man movies, you'll obviously probably know him from Avengers and all that, because he's awesome in Avengers.
Absolutely.
Sure is.
And I thought he was awesome in this movie.
He's an amazing actor.
Yeah, it was really good.
When he needs you to feel, you feel.
Well, I'm pretty sure that neither of you guys saw the first Spider-Man movie, right? Homecoming?
Nope.
Not all of it. I've seen probably 60%, 70% of
Okay.
it, so I kind of know the gist of what's going on, but
Okay.
I don't even think you need to watch that one. right?
No, you didn't. No,
This had more to do with Endgame than anything else.
absolutely it did. Yeah, I mean, the only thing that Spider-Man Homecoming really sets up more for you is like Aunt May, the other characters, Aunt May and his buddy Ned, and,
which I love. He's
Yeah.
so awesome.
and MJ and Flash and all them. But even that, I mean, the whole dichotomy of Peter's relationship to them is clearly spelled out in this movie.
Yeah.
It's you're not missing anything. There's nothing story-wise that carries over really from Homecoming. It's all carrying over from Endgame and stuff. So let me just say, for the people, if you didn't read in the title and stuff, this review contains spoilers. Spoilers. Lots of spoilers. So we don't want to hear you fucking crying and whining like a pussy. If you're like, I didn't see the movie and now you ruined it for me. It's a fucking spoiler review. All right? It's because we just want to talk about it. Getting right into it. What'd you guys think of the movie?
Loved it.
Yeah, you loved it?
Yeah.
What about you,
really
Vito?
Enjoyed it.
Loved it.
Yeah, you loved
Yeah.
it too? Okay.
Fuck yeah.
Wait for Larry's response.
Oh,
Yeah,
Jesus.
it was okay.
Here we go.
Yeah, I loved it.
Hey.
I thought it was yeah, there you go. Here, give me a high. There you go.
Wait, I got gum on my hand.
No, I did love it. Again, if you've watched any of the other Geek Preview episodes, you're going to know that I am not big on surprises. So, of course, I pretty much spoiled the movie for me before going to see it.
And it soured you towards it.
It did.
It's what you get for reading it ahead of time.
It showed me, man. Yeah, it taught me a lesson because I read our singer Paul's spoiler-free review of it. And up to that point, I was like, I'm not going to spoil it. But then when I read what he wrote, I just got way too curious. And it made me a little worried. I was like, oh, you know what? Let me at least get a general gist of what this was going to be about, which I did. And again, thankfully, I did it the way I prefer to do it, which is get the general gist of it, but don't spoil everything. So there were a couple things I was like, oh, I didn't know about, and we'll talk about that when the time comes. But when I read the spoiler review of it, it actually made me kind of bummed because I was like, oh, okay, I don't know if I'm going to like this, because there was a few things that it revealed that bummed me out. And so I went into this movie thinking that I was not going to like it that much. And I was totally wrong. I really enjoyed this movie. First of all, one of the things that really took me by surprise with this movie was how incredibly funny it was. Like, up to this point, I would say the funniest Marvel movie I'd seen was the Ant-Man movies, and we loved, like, we talked about it in our Ant-Man and the Wasp review, that how hilarious that movie was. This movie rivals that, if not even more so, dude.
There's there's some spot. Yeah,
I
maybe.
mean, there was at least 5, 6, 7 times where you and I, especially, like, burst out laughing.
Yeah, when that kid got hit in the nuts, you both lost.
That was amazing.
Like, instantaneously, you're like in unison the whole way. Like,
Megan, one of the funniest things in the entire world to me is a guy slipping on a banana peel or another dude getting slapped in the fucking nuts. I don't know why, but they're the funniest goddamn things you can ever see. So yeah, of course, immediate gut reaction, I think, between Larry and I is to laugh.
Oh my God.
You guys lost it. I'm like, typical men.
Got to the point in the movie where anytime there was going to be a scene with the 2 teacher chaperones
Oh gosh.
and the class, I was like, oh God, what's going to happen? Because it's going to be funny. It just got so funny, especially the growing tension between the 2 teachers.
He's like, I'm trying!
I'm doing the best I can, Tyrone! It's like... Dude, the tone of this movie totally suits Spider-Man.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Because Spider-Man needs to have some drama in it, and this had its moments, but I think that it really suits Peter Parker and the character and his age and all that stuff. I don't think when you're dealing with a bunch of 16-year-olds, which makes up the majority of this cast, this isn't The Outsiders, you know what I mean? This isn't like some super serious type of story they're trying to tell here. It's like, it's goofy. And it kind of would be if a 16-year-old was suddenly imbued with these kind of powers and this kind of responsibility. He wouldn't have like a good head on his shoulders about it. He'd be a fucking mess, which is exactly what he is. Like, starting with you, Vito, what would you say were like some of the standout high points of this movie and of the story?
The technology used by Mysterio.
Yeah.
I love the whole drone aspect, the holographic stuff, because the first half of the movie threw me for a loop, because, like, I know who Mysterio is, but I didn't think he could fly and do all these superpowers. I was like, well, this is weird.
Right.
But then they referenced the multiverse. I was like, oh, well, maybe they're changing the story.
Right.
And then you get the twist. You're like, oh, okay, I see. So that, I love the tech, which I do in most of these Avengers Marvel movies.
Yeah.
That's what I'm all about. So.
Right, but I thought that it was cool the way they threw us off. Because, obviously, like me, I'm big... even you knew, too, and stuff. I'm big comic book dork. So I totally know who Mysterio is and everything. So I expected, even before I spoiled it for myself, I expected that, it's not going to be what we think and everything. But, yeah, when you got wind of, it's a multiverse, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going, okay, it's Quentin Beck as Mysterio, but maybe in another universe, in an alternate universe, maybe he's not a villain. Maybe he's a good guy. Maybe we're getting like a totally different Mysterio here. So yeah, like I thought that was cool the way they threw us off with that. I loved the way they explained shit. When Quentin is standing there at the bar And he's like explaining, and he's like, and you did this and you did that. And I'm thinking to myself, in real life, would he really be like standing there explaining to people what they did? It's like, they all fucking know what they did.
Yeah,
like,
that was a little weird at first. I was like, where are they? This is odd. Why are they going this? And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, wait a minute. This is actually fucking awesome. Like, he pointed to this William guy, and it cuts to, what's his
Civil
face?
War,
Yeah.
man.
Even the first Iron Man.
And then it cuts to Jebediah Stane.
Yeah.
Obadiah Stane. Not Jebediah. Obadiah Stane.
It's Obadiah.
Obadiah, son. Obadiah Stane. And I was like, that guy. Like, I love the reference back to the other movies. I was like, when they showed that scene from Civil War of Tony showing the flashback of him with his parents and everything, and explaining that. I love the fact that they took all this tech and had it make sense. Like, it's sense in the context of the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
That this wasn't just some new shit they threw out there just to make a story. Like, I love that this had complete connection and made sense in the already established storyline they've made in MCU. These are all disgruntled Stark ex-employees and stuff that helped. And I thought that was kind of cool too, because everybody automatically goes, oh, well, this was all created from Tony. He was so brilliant. He created everything. And this kind of showed like, no, there were other people that have helped Tony create some of this tech. Like, this didn't just all come from him, although ultimately it still kind of does. But the idea that there were other people underneath him
that felt shafted, that they weren't getting the attention and the credit due to them, and that's pretty believable, man. It was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So.
What about you, Meg? What kind of things like stood out to you?
I really liked when Mysterio had Spider-Man in his little illusions and stuff. Like, that would seriously fuck somebody up. How do you even combat that?
That was great.
That was like, holy shit, this is amazing. Yeah. But I also really loved just the interaction between all the teenagers.
Yeah.
It was so comical, and their chemistry together was all of them together was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the casting was just spot on for everybody in this movie.
Yeah.
Really yeah, and again, Tom
Holland,
his acting and stuff, just anytime he cries or something, you just want to melt with him because you feel all those emotions.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah.
He's real fucking good.
You know.
Yeah, I took his shirt off. I was like, ooh, hi, hi, Spider-Man. How are you?
And I don't know, speaking for us older guys, Marissa Tomei, man.
Damn.
Right?
I'm a big Marissa Tomei fan.
Something told me that Vito might be a fan of Marissa Tomei. Yeah. Like, there's a woman that has aged
gracefully.
Well. Yeah. Yeah, and I love her character. They make her so charming and fun and everything.
And her and the whole happy thing was cool.
That was funny. Yeah. I really like what they've done with the happy character. And I like the fact that he's taken him into this more comedic kind of territory and sort of becoming a mentor, like, you know, an uncle kind of figure for Peter. I think that's really cool. And you could see that they were setting that up like within an Endgame and everything, that they were gonna do that more. Getting back to what you were saying about the illusions, you know, and all that kind of stuff, like, it took me back to old Spider-Man, like the 67 cartoon, the old 90s cartoon, the comic books, like, and just everything showing the way they actually took it from an illustration and made it live action. Like, that moment especially, I was like, oh man, I'm watching classic Spider-Man tale here.
Yeah, I got some 90s cartoon vibes, like when he met Madame Spider, whatever her name is. She's like the old grandma woman that had the illusions.
Madam Web. Yeah.
Madam Web, that's what. Yeah, that was cool. And your thing about him in that the tunnel or whatever, when Iron Man came out and he was like a zombie with a skeleton, dude, that was fucking awesome, man.
Yeah,
that was so
spider
cool.
Come out of his eye.
Yeah, that was
way cool.
And for a 16-year-old kid that's probably got some serious PTSD issues from everything that happened,
cool.
You could see how that would totally fuck with him. What did you guys think, since we were talking about casting, what did you guys think of, like, Jake Gyllenhaal?
I liked him.
I thought...
I don't know enough about Mysterio to judge if he was a good choice for that or not.
I think so. I mean, obviously, just like with all these other ones, just like having Marissa Tomei be Aunt May, where she always was like this little old lady, and now they take... This was a new spin on it, because in the comics and everything, Quentin Beck was always more of like a actor, you know what I mean? He was supposed to be more like this, classically trained, actor kind of guy, and they made this more like Hollywood actor-y kind of, like he's fucking Jake Gyllenhaal. He was basically like him with a major chip on his shoulder. So let's get into the stuff that most of the twists you don't find out until the mid and after credits scenes. So here's what I want to ask you guys. Did you figure out that there was something up with Nick Fury and Maria Hill? Or was that a total surprise when you realized that they were Skrulls?
Total surprise.
Total surprise.
Was it? Okay, see, because...
Didn't see it coming.
I forgot the Skrulls existed.
I was like, oh my god, what happened to her face? oh, I see what's happening here.
Say, it wasn't that long ago we reviewed Captain Marvel. If you watch the movie, there's so many tells throughout the movie. First of all, the fact that Nick Fury didn't react at all when Happy gave him that... When Happy's on the plane and he's sending that coded message about your surfboard, blah, 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 and Nick Fury's like, what are you bothering me with this, blah, blah, blah. He says, I sent him the message, and clearly he didn't get the message. It's because the real Nick Fury would have known what that meant.
Oh, see, I took it a little bit differently. See, I thought he knew what the message was, but he was playing off because he didn't know if Maria Hill was in on it.
They wanted you to think that, but in actuality, it's because he didn't know. He didn't catch that at all.
I see.
And also, it seemed like everybody didn't really respect Nick Fury like he should be respected throughout the whole film. Like, really, I don't see him taking it that well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point about the lack of respect, or like not even just that, but the whole interactions that Nick Fury had with people, even on his end, because I think the real Nick Fury would not have been nearly as dickish to Peter. Now, I mean, I get that he didn't this was his first time really meeting Peter and all this other kind of stuff, but he was so cold throughout the whole movie, where he was just like, fuck your teenage whatever and fuck your friends and blah, blah, blah. I don't give a shit about that, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, in that regard, I'm kind of glad that I went into this knowing that really wasn't Nick Fury, because otherwise I would have been getting really annoyed throughout this movie, because I would have been like, whoa, wait a minute. Why are they like, yeah, it's Nick Fury. Samuel Jackson always plays him kind of, snarky and all this kind of stuff, but it was like next level.
See, because I didn't know. I thought that he was just trying to toughen the kid up to be like, listen, dude, this is like real shit.
Right.
You can't give a shit about you. Yeah, right. That's how I kind of took it. But
right, and I think, and that's what they wanted you to take it as. So that I guess they did a perfect job of it, because you guys totally fell for it.
Bought it.
Totally
blind and sinker.
Oh! Wow. Yeah, you did. But
we blew it.
But in fact, you blew it. But in all seriousness, no, I mean that's great. Like, that shows that it was good writing, it was good acting. But now Maria Hill has always been like a cold, like, I don't fucking care about any of these assholes kind of character. So from her, I would buy it. But I just thought Nick was like a little extra. I mean, what I'm asking is, not only did you guys, so you didn't know that that's what it was, and then we find out that in fact he's up on a Skrull ship.
I didn't get that at all. I think I missed something.
I was kind of.
I didn't know where he was.
I was like,
did he? Now?
Yeah, did he send them down to impersonate he and Maria because they're on vacation? Because then they show him like in the pseudo, holodeck style.
That was cool.
Yeah, that was cool actually. Holodeck style beach thing, and he's like, oh, okay. But like, there's some major catastrophe shit going on Earth, where these major cities are getting like blown apart, and I'm just thinking like, would the real Nick Fury just be on a ship somewhere being like, I need to get away from it all. I'll leave these two Skrulls to impersonate me, and while all this shit is going on, I don't. That part of the story seemed a little like I don't buy that. I don't buy that Nick Fury would ever just intentionally let that happen and just be like, oh, well, London and Prague and Italy and all this, like, yeah, whatever. They got completely demolished, but, nothing too major.
Yeah, it was weird. Because I'm assuming that he's been up in space the whole time, even from the opening shot of the movie, right? Where they're in Mexico?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
that was all the Skrulls from the same two Skrulls from the husband and wife from Captain Marvel and everything. And then when he even found out at the very end, he just seemed kind of like, oh, well.
You must see my shoes.
Right. It was funny, but it just, I don't know. That was the only part of the whole story that I'm like, I don't know if I'm buying into that completely. And then, of course, the other part of the story that I do buy into, and I'm like, oh, wow, is I love the whole thing that when Spidey was taking down Mysterio, and then he said, well, I've got a contingency plan. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And you're like, oh, what's that? And you think it's just going to be like, well, he's got to
set a bomb somewhere.
Yeah, right. But it turns out the contingency plan is that he was framing Spider-Man for all his shit so that the public will think that Spider-Man is a villain. And not only that, but he fucking blows his cover in the middle of Times Square or whatever and puts up a fucking picture of Peter Parker as Spider-Man.
Dude, that was awesome. Man.
Like, that was awesome. And how the fuck are they going to come back from that? Like, that's some major shit, man. Like, that's, wow. I don't know.
Oh, no.
Yeah, right. Well, I love that. He's like, what the fuck?
That was great.
That was great. Not to mention that how much does that suck that just got blown. He's literally
in the middle of public
New York City. Yeah, like in public like that. I don't know what they're going to do about that. But as a little side note, I got super excited. Not only that they've now brought the character of J. Jonah Jameson into this universe, into this Spider-Man story, because he hasn't been in there like at all. But not only that, but it's J.K. Simmons reprising his role as Jameson, who was from the Tobey Maguire series of Spider-Man movies. Like, they've never referenced those movies. This has been completely separate. So for them to like not only have the Sony Spider-Man movies totally cross over and connect with the Disney MCU movies, and they've totally integrated that now, but now they've brought somebody from the Maguire series. Like, holy shit. Who's a better fucking J. Jonah Jameson than J.K. Simmons? I mean...
You're not going to find him.
No, exactly.
It doesn't exist.
I think this is a really good movie. I've seen some people complaining about it. This is probably my favorite Spider-Man movie. Of all the Spider-Man movies.
Because I really like the Sam Raimi, Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, especially Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock.
Yes.
That was awesome.
Yeah, and
that was really good.
I think up to this point, I would have said that's probably the best Spider-Man movie. It might still technically be the best Spider-Man movie, but if you asked me which one would I rather watch again, I'd rather watch this one again.
Yeah, I would totally watch this again and again and again.
This one was just fun. And like I said, it was fun and it was funny and there was a lot to take in from it.
It was funny, it was suspenseful.
It was very suspenseful.
Very romantic. Yeah. I mean, you were like this.
Yeah.
Most of the movie.
Yeah, there was parts where I was just like, oh, especially as it got more towards the end and stuff. There was so much fun. And then for me and Vito, there was a lot of stuff that I think we thought was funny because...
You've been to Europe so many times?
We've been to Europe. We've traveled to Europe. We've toured Europe. We've been on that flight. We've been to all the countries they went to when they're in Italy. We're like, we've been there. Prague. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And then especially when they got to the Netherlands, man, and I was just like, oh, that's so the Netherlands, you know?
But except for the fact, everybody's always extremely nice in the Netherlands.
Except when you're in November's Doom.
I'm thinking, obviously, this is a Mysterio illusion because they're not all this nice in the Netherlands.
They can be pretty nice though. They're pretty nice. It's just we're involved in the fucking metal scene, so we have to deal with, no matter where we go, we have to deal with these fucking metalhead snobs and shit that are like, oh, you're not so good. Fuck you.
No, most of the Dutch people are extremely nice, except for a couple of you guys that came up to our merch booth. We remember
is that
you.
where that was?
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
You guys
Yeah, that was
the merch back from them, saying
Yep.
no merch for you.
Yeah, that was at the Dynamo Club,
Yeah.
the legendary. Oh boy. Yeah. Anyway, overall, 2 thumbs up.
Yep.
6 thumbs up all the way around.
Yeah, and I mean, let me just finish off by saying this. It's like I said, I know some people are critical of the movie or going, oh, I expected more, I expected this, I expected that. It's so hard to be the first Marvel movie to follow up the end of the whole Avengers Infinity War Endgame storyline. Like, following that up is tough, man. And
I think they nailed it.
I think they nailed it.
Personally, I think they nailed it.
Oh, and I loved that they also referenced the snap, which now they've called the blip.
Blip.
I wish they had spent more time on that. That's
Yeah.
I guess my only complaint is I wanted to see more about that, but, we got what we got, and it was good.
Yeah, I like that they addressed how the Endgame affected them all.
I love
good.
and they even made it funny when all the people appearing in the middle of that
awesome.
game and
Yeah, right from the get-go they had us laughing.
and even little things like Aunt May giving that speech and talking about how when she reappeared that she was in her apartment, but now it belonged to somebody else, and they didn't know what to make of it and everything. I love that they did that because when we did the Endgame review, that was one of my main criticisms. Is I was like, how would this work? Like, how would you explain it? And even explaining that, like, the one, kid talking about, like, yeah, my little brother is now technically older than me, and it's really weird, and bringing up all that. Yeah, I was really happy. Yes, of course, we as geeks would love to have 20 minutes more exposition on that, like we want to know more, but and you never know, we might get more. There might be extra scenes, there might be more reference to it in whatever the next Marvel movies are, but I thought it was just enough to help this movie pick up the pieces from there and explain it and everything. Yeah.
Do we think this is the end of Mysterio, or is he going to be back? Because she said, was it Edith? What's her name?
Edith is, the glasses.
She's like, all the illusions are gone, but she didn't say he was dead.
Oh, that's true. I don't know.
Or is this just our introduction, and he'll be like recurring occasionally?
I don't know. I think
unless that William guy takes on the suit and impersonates Quentin or something like. Because he did take I guess that's how he got the Spidey thing.
Right,
at the end,
but
I see him take that download.
I think
drive out or whatever.
Yeah, I think there's a possibility that I think that's the end of Mysterio, Quentin Beck. I think that's the end of him. I do think that those people and that tech and all that stuff that they had, I do think that will continue in some way, shape, or form to haunt him. Just like in the other movies and Captain America and stuff, just like how Hydra, is like an ongoing thing. There's new. I think that there's a good chance that that's going to continue on and not just be limited to this.
I hope so, dude, because that tech is awesome.
Well, but think about this. I mean, we're talking about Spider-Man movies. We've had it's interesting what they've done with these Spider-Man movies, and that they've done the complete opposite of what the other Spider-Man movies were, which is those movies went right for the big villains. They went for Green Goblin and, what I mean, and Sandman and, Dr. Octopus, the really like quintessential Spider-Man villains. And these movies have gone the opposite route. We've had the Vulture, in Homecoming. We've had Mysterio. Now, these are great villains, but they're kind of second-tier Spider-Man villains.
I'm glad they went that route because, dude, we had enough Green Goblins and all that shit. We know what that is, blah, blah, blah. These are like new characters that we probably wouldn't get on the main screen. You know, I only saw them in the cartoon show on Fox.
Right. And I think that there is still a chance we will get some sort of Green Goblin. Or maybe not Green Goblin. Maybe we'll get Hobgoblin.
Or Scorpion.
Because
I like Scorpion.
Fucking Scorpion is awesome. Yeah, and there's... Yeah.
Maybe Kraven if we're lucky. I don't know. What do you think?
That would be awesome. Dude.
Oh, that was a joke. I think that guy's lame as fuck.
No, dude. I think they could make Kraven really cool if they took a different approach with him, you know?
Yeah. I'd like to see all those people use their tech and everything to do everything they can to take down Spider-Man. Yeah. At every turn.
Right. And yeah,
it's a constant battle. Like he's got to fight these new villains and everything, but they're constantly trying to undermine him.
Yeah.
Right.
That'd be kind of cool.
Well, and here's the thing. So since you guys didn't see Homecoming, one of the things they hinted at the end of Homecoming was a possible Sinister Six thing. Do you remember the Sinister Six, Vito?
Yeah.
Sinister Six is kind of like a super group of Spider-Man's worst villains that all like end up getting together. There's a possibility of that. They hinted at there's other villains and stuff. I think that could be where they're going to build up to with the next movie, where it's going to be like multiple villains. He's going to have to take on this like a gang of them and stuff with that tech and everything. If they hook up with the Mysterio people, that could be
dude, that could be really fucking cool.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we've talked long enough about this. It's a good movie, man. Yeah, I'm happy. Lot of tension on everybody's parts of what's going to be the next Marvel movie and stuff. And I think this was a good start.
Very good start. Yeah.
You know, so we'll have to see, and whoever, you know, year or two down the line when we do our reassessment of Marvel movies and everything, where movies like this will rank. Gets harder and harder.
Yeah, this might be up in there.
Right now, this movie ranks pretty high for me.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all in agreement on that one.
Yeah. So,
all right. A good movie.
Yeah, it was. All right, everybody. So, peace out. Thanks for watching Geeking Poetic. As always, like, share, comment,
subscribe.
You know the whole drill. Patreon page if you're super generous, you know. So, anyway.
See ya.
See ya.
Now it doesn't spin for you. That's where the explosion comes. What the fuck?
Spider-Man, where are you coming from, Spider-Man? Nobody knows who you